Good evening, ghouls, goblins, ghosts, werewolves, vampires, uh, Dracula. No, that's vampires. What am I missing? Frankensteins, monsters, zombies. What else am I missing? Fairies. Is there anything else, Greg? That is ghosts. Did I say
Um,
ghosts?
yeah, witches,
Witches,
uh, wizards, dragons.
Republicans. Oh,
Especially
sorry.
those are the scariest ones.
Sorry. Wrong side. No. On this All Hallow Eve's edition of Super Kicking It with Stevens. So we'll be very spooky today with all of our news, even though there's not a lot of spooky news this week, which is a good thing. But Greg, rocking the Suns jersey. How your son's doing so far?
Suns, baby, 4-1 to start the year. Big dub against Golden State,
Mm-hmm.
the reigning defending champions as of right now. But we ran them out the building like 134 to 103, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So making a statement. Meanwhile, on the left coast, the Fakers are 0-5. So, I had to go and rub that
Mm-hmm.
into some of my friends who are Faker lovers and, you know, put a little salt in the wound just for fun. So that's what we do. They'll go back to the ring argument. They're like Cowboys and Raiders fans. Like, we have 6 rings. Like, yeah, when was that? Before you were born? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's been fun to rub that in and watch my sons get off to another fast start. So,
Oh yeah. And my Pacers got a good win last night against the dysfunctional Nets. So that's always a good thing. I think they're on a 3-game losing streak for the Nets there. My Pacers are 3-4. Benedict Mathurin is probably in the driver's seat right now for Rookie of the Year. Coming off the bench, has gotten the most points by a rookie, I believe, in his first 5 or 6 games. So yeah, things are looking promising. I mean, I think my Pacers are going to be that team that wins some games they probably shouldn't, lose some games they should. I don't think we'll be in the playoffs, but I feel like we might hover around that 10, 11, maybe sniff the tournament, the play-in tournament, if things work out okay. But
yeah, I
honestly,
picked up here a guy from my fantasy basketball team.
Matherin,
Yeah,
oh yeah, he's
he had
looking
that
like
little
the real
piece written
deal.
about him.
I mean, he's
So
been and just like the shots he makes are nothing but net. I mean, a pretty good strokes. So
nice.
yeah, he's looking he's looking like the real deal. Tyrese Halliburton's coming on. Buddy Hield is hitting 3-pointers like nothing. Miles Turner just got back. How's Aiton doing over there? I know, isn't he just coming back from injury for your sons or not?
Yeah, he is. He's smart day to day, but he played the other night and limited minutes because they were rolling such a way they were. He didn't
Yeah,
need to be in there for that long, but yeah, he'll be fine. He'll be in the next games and everything. So yeah, he's
I
good.
remember we had that press conference and he didn't look like he wanted to be there at all. So I was just curious how his play on the court has been because of that. But yeah, the Lakers, man, they look they look dysfunctional as well, which just makes me think I do not want to trade for Russell Westbrook, like at all. Even if they're giving it, or else they better pile on the draft picks. Like just give us everything under the sun. But anyways, so uh,
Get him cheap right about now.
oh yeah, I mean, as cheap as you this, yeah, they're going to be a wholesale fire pretty soon if they don't turn anything around right. So, uh, yeah. But anyways, let's get into some news and notes. So the big news, got a couple things, Greg. So first, earlier this week, we did hear about Hell in a Cell will no longer be a premium live event. So Triple H wants to give that back to a big feud that needs it, which is fine. I
Mhm.
still think the past years Hell in a Cell matches at the Hell in a Cell pay per view have been the feuds that need to be in there. But now it could kind of sit apart and you can let it breathe and really consider it when you need to. But there's also talk of bringing the Money in the Bank matches back to WrestleMania. I'm kind of mixed on it, Greg. I understand people's nostalgia, even though it's been what, probably 10, 12 years since Money in the Bank has been there. I like the Money in the Bank pay per view because I always felt like it was, it's felt like one of the top four. It's kind of replaced Survivor Series, so I thought it was always kind of a cool one to put at its own peak. But bringing it back to WrestleMania, especially if you're going to do two nights, you could do the women's one night and the men's one night, and kind of give them their own shine. But yeah, any thoughts on that? I'm guessing you're for it. Like I said, I'm okay with it. I understand it, but I do think at the same time, the Money in the Bank pay per view was kind of a cool concept, and I didn't think people had too many complaints about it. Other than maybe winners of it, but that you could complain about the winner even if it's at WrestleMania. So, any thoughts on that end, Greg, about the Money in the
Yeah,
Bank matches?
I like it on both ends. Number one, I think me and you had talked about it a few times that the Hell in a Cell matches were getting overused,
Yeah.
and they need to go back to being the special occasion that it once was.
Hmm.
Um, when we got a Hell in a Cell match, it was going to be a banger because usually it involved the Undertaker, and the ones that didn't, those were the blood feuds, and
Hmm.
there was no way else to end it. But it was too, uh, they diluted it too much by having a live event or a pay per view for it every year at a certain time, and we know it was coming, so they had to heat something up to get it in there. But this time, you take that away, you can put another gimmick heavy pay per view in its place or whatever, and let it be the special attraction that it is.
Yeah.
We should be able to plan around a Hell in a Cell match. So I love the move, and it's what it should be. It should be saved for this is the final straw. Let these guys get in there and kill each other. Um, so I love that. Plus, moving the Money in the Bank matches to WrestleMania. Um, I get it, giving it its own pay per view and um, celebrating the winners there, but it
Hmm.
is a huge deal. Um, and it deserves a WrestleMania stage. Now, the only issue with it is um, being able to cash in at WrestleMania if that was the plan. But there's still ways to do it. You can start off with the Money in Bank to open
And cash
WrestleMania and
in
be a
for
great way to open, and then you still have that leeway to have somebody cash in there. But
or cash
um,
in the next day if there's two nights.
exactly.
So,
So I think it's still possible to do it that way if somebody wants to use that angle. But it's a huge deal as far as having a guaranteed uh, title shot, and it deserves to be a WrestleMania moment. So I'm all for it.
and if you're going to do this route as well, then we probably should space out the events. You know, I a lot. I will say we've gotten better with the schedule. I felt like just a few years ago, or a couple years ago, it was like what, three pay-per-views in a 2 month span. So hopefully, getting rid of elimination, or sorry, getting rid of Hell in the Cell pay-per-view, getting rid of Money in the Bank. Hopefully that frees up some time between stuff. If we're just kind of going to look at the calendar, I don't. So we're probably going to do. I think they're doing NXT in December. So I would assume there's no big pay per view for the main roster. So we kind of start fresh with January being um, Royal Rumble. February is Elimination Chamber, which is going to be. I think that's going international. I forget where it's going to be. Is it going to be in Saudi? I thought they said it's
Um,
somewhere. It's going to
I
be
think
international.
Canada.
Canada, that's right. Montreal or
Yeah.
Toronto, one of the two. Then you got to think there'll be WrestleMania, and then I think there's going to be Crown Jewel or something like that in May. So you wonder if summer might be more spaced out between that and SummerSlam. Then we got. I think they're probably going to do Clash at the Castle again. I would assume. Then maybe you go to Survivor Series, and yeah, hopefully we tone down the pay per view schedule to let things breathe there as well. So
Yeah,
um,
and also like that they said they're going to take out day one.
yeah,
Um,
that's gone.
day one's dead too because they don't want to compete against the last week of NFL season.
And college
So,
football, which
right.
is usually
So,
has a game or two that day.
right. Big, high profile college football. So, yeah, it makes total sense to do it that way and just kill day one and start with Road to WrestleMania,
And
at the end of January and roll that way.
The other big news, Greg, was Nakamura. So he's going to wrestle outside of the WWE umbrella. We've seen it here and there, I believe, but not, to this caliber where um, this is in Budokan and this is, the New Year. This is a Noah pay per view, which is another kind of New Japan offshoot type deal, or their own promotion in Japan. I think this is Triple H's way to try to get into Japan and possibly, I don't know if NXT there or what there, or work, do some deal. I Some people are saying maybe this is the Great Muda's way to get in the Hall of Fame. You let Nakamura wrestle against him. It's his last year for wrestling, so maybe he goes to the Hall of Fame as like the trade off, which is probably an ideal situation to do. So, any thoughts on this, Greg? Seeing Nakamura wrestle outside the WW1, yeah, the Rev, the Triple H regime. There we go. I can't get my words out, but Nakamura, probably getting a chance to do some things he doesn't normally do, and I
Mhm.
guess the other question is, does anyone else get to do this? Like we know, Carl Anderson is the open neverweight champion, I believe, for New Japan or whatever Japan promotion. So maybe that might be an option if things can go well. But um, like people said, they can't imagine Vince McMahon doing this unless there was that trade off of the Great Muda going into Hall of Fame. Then I could see Vince doing this, but I think this Triple H trying to dip his toes into uncharted waters. We don't really see this that much. So um, if you have AEW working with New Japan, maybe Triple H is like, okay, well, we'll go get the other Japan promotions and try to finagle some deals and see what we can do there. So um, it should be kind of cool, like I said, for Nakamura to get this chance to be one of Great Muda's last matches. I think Sting is the other scheduled match as well. But I think this is a big sign that the Great Muda could be into the Hall of Fame as far as WWE goes, and that's a pretty big name, internationally. So, thoughts
Mhm.
on this kind of development that just popped out last night, Greg?
Yeah, I love that. Muda has had a storied career. I remember watching him when I was a teenager. So, at least a 30-year career already.
Mhm.
And, now he's ready to hang it up. We've seen him on AEW TV. And like you said, we never would have figured that Vince McMahon would do this type of, or allow his guys to do this type of thing while they're still under contract. And
Mhm.
it's another feather in the cap of the Triple H administration that they're seeing the value in it and how this could work out long term, and actually testing that forbidden door.
Mhm.
We're not going to see him come onto WWE television, but yet I think he still will. But you know, a year ago, this would not be an option, and now it is, and we could see some New Japan wrestlers, cross promote, show up on WWE TV, and add some more flavor, international flavor to the program. So I'm all for it. I love Muda. I have since I was very young, and I know it's a huge honor for Shinsuke. And going back to his own country, he's going to be Muda's going to be the favorite, so he gets to play up his villainous side, and it should be
Mhm.
a lot of fun. And I have no doubt they're going to have a killer match. So um, yeah, nothing but good things could come out of this, especially if this is angled for Muda to get into the Hall of Fame. Have him do some TV appearances and get that pub on both sides of the pond.
Yeah. That was all the news I kind of found this week. Luckily, we didn't have I mean, we're still waiting out whatever's going on with CM Punk. Nothing on that front. The story keeps changing. I kind of mentioned it. I think, Greg, the latest was the dog was involved. Larry, I don't know what the heck. Like, part of me thinks, Greg, I get why the dog was there because he takes him on the road, but at the same time, can't you just board up the dog? Like, like can't you just board him up at a some fancy dog suite, and then you don't have to? I don't. Anyways, but and then I do want to talk about later during our AW stuff, Greg, the promo, the little commercial vignette thing that aired for the
Mhm.
Elite because I thought that was pretty telling. So yeah, any thoughts on CM Punk? And I mean, I kind of talked it up last week. I mean, it's just like this. It's like this cloud hanging over AEW. I feel like
Yeah, and the more I see on it, it looks like Punk is the problem.
that's
I don't,
that's what's sad.
yeah, and I don't know if he's got kind of a big head because he knows he's a huge attraction, and he's had some diva issues or whatever. But there's more and more reports of guys saying he's kind of separated himself from the rest of the locker room. Um, thinks he's more important than everybody else, things like that, and they're siding with the elite on this, which I
More
expect it would be the other way around. Um, so I hate it because Punk and AEW was a natural fit. Those handful of storylines he was in um, played out great, and it sucks that the injury happened. And we got the summer of Moxley instead of the summer of Punk. But it is what it is. It's a dangerous sport, and guys going to get injured. But there was plenty of time to come back and do big things. Once his injury is healed, and now we're going to lose that because he couldn't conduct himself professionally backstage. Um, thinking he was more important than everybody else or whatever the case was. But this investigation's playing out, and we're seeing voices come out against CM Punk. Chris Jericho called him a cancer to the locker room, and given their history going back a couple decades, um, that holds some weight with me because he's not just some young punk who's jealous of him. This guy has set as big or bigger of a career than Punk has. So, uh, like I said, I hate it that it's happening this way, but it looks like Punk's the problem, and he's the one who needs to go. So,
And of course, we don't know the elite side. I mean, they're probably at fault as well. I mean, a lot of people have said how much they've booked themselves. So you got to wonder, um, what is their side of this? Because you think eventually their side's going to come out. Now, granted, it's going to be their side, Greg, and they're going to tell their story. But Quiggs has a great point just about this whole Triple H wants to take NXT across the globe again. I think that's a sign of this. And then he also said if Punk gets fired from AEW with any other promotion, even try to sign him. I mean, Impact, would they want to try? I mean, but then they got rid of Tessa Blanchard with all of her baggage, Greg. So I can't imagine them trying to, I mean, Punk was in Impact for what, a little bit of time, his early career, because I think him and Raven had a big feud down there at some point. So, um, honestly, if
mhm.
Punk's when Punk now it's just when he gets fired. I mean that let's just face it, or when he resigns or whatever. When it's over, I think that's it. I think he's gonna, you know, not right off into the sunset, Greg. This is more like you know, fall in a like they kind of say, burn out. Unfortunately,
Mhm.
and it just we'll always have the first dance as that return in the matches,
Yeah,
but the ending, it's like watching a movie and the ending just sits with you. Greg, if it's a bad ending, you can't. That's what you hold on to because that's the last thing you remember. So I can't
right.
imagine anybody would try to sign him. You know, I I don't. I think he's smart enough to feel like if he would go back to WWE Greg, it would probably, he'd feel like he's going back on all the talk he did. And I think he's not that type of person. I think whatever he says is what he believes. And we can get, into people, i.e., Kanye, Greg, and Kyrie Irving lately, believe in everything they say. And, that's truth. But I do think Punk's that guy that's like, you know, I don't know if he's going to borrow the Carl Anderson deal, and uh, go back and get that cash cow that's waiting for him at WWE if he did that. But I truly think when this is up, it's over. That's all we wrote on him. And like I said, does he do the comic book convention route and at least try to make ends meet on that, or you know get into the comic book industry or try acting? He was in the Heels show, right, on Stars, I believe, or had some hand on that. Maybe maybe helping AJ if she's still involved with that women's wrestling promotion, I believe.
Mhm.
The world of or women of wrestling, I think, is what they're trying to work out for next year. So,
Right.
you know, I just truly think nobody's going to touch him right away. Let's face it. Let's get that right. They always say time heals all wounds. So in a year, who's to say, Greg? But I think he truly will. If he says I'm done, that's going to be his word, and I think his word is everything to him. So,
I'm not
uh,
convinced of that. Um, like I said, I don't. And shout out to Tim. How you doing, brother? Um, I don't think this is it. Is this it for him in AEW for right now? Absolutely. I expect that in the next month or so he'll officially be gone. There'll be a press release. Punk is no longer a part of AEW. Blah blah blah. But could I see him in WWE? Absolutely. Especially now that Vince is gone. Um, and go back to the pipe bomb. He had some interesting things to say about WWE and the way it would go, and it being, um, just the Vince show, and nothing's going to change until Vince is dead. And then,
but there's some
once
history with
that's done,
him,
it's
and
going to get passed over. Exactly, it's history with him and Triple H as it is, and
that's
part
what
of it
I
is
think
because of that, and
holds
that
him
could
back.
make it that can make it really, really, really juicy. So, 6 months from now or the day after WrestleMania, what about that? That we get Roman Reigns in the ring and who's going to beat me, and Cult of Personality starts playing. You know, who wouldn't be here for that? I
Yeah,
mean, it's definitely a possibility. Like I said, once this whole thing with AEW is over, talks to Triple H behind the scenes, just lay low. Let's work on your vignettes. Let's work on what's going to happen when you come back, and just keep everything hush in a small circle of people so nothing gets leaked. And then, boom, at WrestleMania, once we've had time to forget about the AEW stuff and set a new stage on the biggest stage,
yeah,
here's CM Punk. And now you've got the biggest thing to follow, Roman and The Rock. How are you going to top that? And boom, CM Punk is back the night after WrestleMania. So something like that, I can definitely see happening.
because I
But
still think more of his issue is with Triple H, honestly. Um,
mhm.
just because I felt like Vince would have been the middleman between them, trying to bury that, repair that bridge, bury that hatchet. I mean, I guess that's the only thing. Can they go into this business, like truly business, and try to keep that? Which we've
Yeah,
seen Punk. I don't know if he can keep things business. I mean,
well,
he
they can
doesn't
do
do.
it with the AEW flair to it, where they just draw the business out and confront each other on the microphone and just, hit them with the realness, the way AEW did it, made it kept you on the edge of your seat, waiting to see what's gonna happen next, and draw them in, air it out on TV, and it's already settled backstage, but you
Yeah,
can tap into those feelings, those hurts feelings, and put it on the mic, and just hit each other with it,
yeah.
and all of us would be just watching it like a tennis match. So something like that, is just printing money.
You
So,
got to wonder
figure out
who
how to do
would.
that.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Triple H is a smart enough businessman, as we've seen at
Hmm.
his hands on the wheel, that he could figure that out and he could make that work, and it would be amazing.
Because that's what you wonder, like who would step in. I guess if Triple H was, well, he's retired, and obviously it sounds like he can't come back. But if there was a chance, or if there was some way he'd work it out, like would that be against Punk and try to rewrite things that probably should have went Punk's way anyway? But yeah, I'd be curious to see who would be that. But
Right.
yeah,
And that's
like you
the fun
said,
of it, that Punk and Tony Khan are going to have a back and forth in the ring. But
yeah,
Punk and Triple H, absolutely they could. Triple H is not going to wrestle or anything, but stand in the mic across from Punk and trade those jabs back and
let
forth.
stuff out. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that's. I think that's all we got on that end. Let's do a quick commercial break, get into some Raw talk, and then we'll get right into it. Got a quick update in the Colts Commanders game. Colts take the lead 9-7.
Oh
All
wow,
right, on
that's
the
quick.
Raw. Anyways, yeah, that what a battle there. But anyways, I forgot to tell you this off the air, Greg, but we'll talk about it now. So, Crown Jewel, I am at a wedding during the day. My brother's getting married, so I will not catch Crown Jewel live. Friday night's a dress rehearsal, Greg. So obviously, I will not do predictions. So I'll probably just predict Crown Jewel throughout today's episode and just kind of talk about the matches based on Raw and SmackDown, if that makes
Sure.
a lot of sense. Um, Hopefully, I will catch Crown Jewel and everything I missed on Friday night on Sunday at some point. But uh, I will. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'll just say that. So I'll catch it
Right.
some way. But busy weekend for Steven, a 1181, as he will be partaking in my brother's not partaking in it, but at my brother's wedding, all on Saturday. So
Yeah, you'll
uh,
be partaking, all right. I know.
I was going to ask if we can get Crown Jewel on somewhere, but that's probably going to be a big fat no. So I don't. The church has got a big screen, right? I could probably. Anyway, so we got AJ, we got Judgment Day, we have the OC all kind of facing each other off there. Finn Balor defeats Carl Anderson. Greg, who's going to win the match on Saturday at Crown Jewel?
Oh, geez. Finn Balor and
So we had
A.
so so it's Finn Balor, Dominic, and Damian
Oh, okay.
Priest versus the OC. And I feel like the Judgment Day has gotten all the upper hand at Raw. So you've got to believe that the OC's winning. I think with Carl Anderson back, with Gallows back, I think until we figure out this 4-on-4 route, I think you're going to have the OC win on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree with that. That you got to heat up the OC, and Judgment Day is established. They're ready. They're over,
Yeah.
and I didn't think they were going to really get over. But they are super over right now, and so taking a loss to OC isn't going to hurt anything. It's just going to help add fuel to the fire as it is, and it's going to even get even more interesting once the OC finds a female member, because they mentioned it on Raw that, we have a Rhea problem. How are we going to fix
Yeah.
it? And so, they're going to include a female into the mix sooner than later. So, and War Games is coming up. Maybe that ends up being a War Games match.
Mhm.
So I could see something like that happening. But for purposes of Crown Jewel, I think the OC, keeps heating up and gets the win.
How's Dominic coming across? Have we grown on him yet? I see a little bit of the. Do you think we see too much of the Eddie factor in there?
Uh, Not everybody's doing the Eddie Guerrero, not just Dominic, but everybody. Finn's doing it, and um, Priest is doing it. Everybody's doing a little nod to Eddie during these matches, and
Maybe to
it's
help
getting kind of
Dominic?
old. No, Dominic going, "I'm this generation's Eddie Guerrero." That was a good line,
Yeah.
because you see that's what he wants, but you know, doing the Three Amigos and the shoulder dance that Eddie used to do. Been here, been there, done that. Keep it moving. But Dominic is little by little growing on me a little bit, and part of it's the Rhea factor. Um,
I think she's
Rhea
something more
is
than Finn and Damien, really, isn't she?
absolutely, because
Which who would have
next to
thought?
Rhea, he doesn't seem like such a kid. I mean, he
Yeah.
still is a you know baby face of all baby faces. Even though he's a heel, he doesn't look like a bad guy. But in the all black and standing next to Rhea, who's could be the queen of the goths at this point, with her all black and her spikes and everything. Um, that looked like that could be a thing.
Mhm.
And so it's growing on me a little bit. Dominic's starting to create a separate identity outside the Mysterio realm, even though that's clearly his last name. But
I mean,
uh, you
obviously,
know,
the end game is getting him to a new level, right? I mean, that's
right?
you know, um, but and like you said, I think Rhea's helping the most. But I guess if you really wanted to go some route, you have him pick up the win. You know, Quicks, but Dominic is a Guerrero after all. Yes, the paternity test does prove that. Um, Man, wouldn't that be a real life storyline if that was actually true? But yeah, so um, yeah, so it's interesting. How about this stuff with the Miz, with Dexter Loomis, with Johnny Gargano? We did have the Miz get beat by our Truth, Greg, which doesn't really matter because um, Gargano was a distraction. But what do we think is what is the secret that the Miz? What's this whole deal with Dexter Loomis and Miz? Are they going to try to say like Dexter Loomis is the baby daddy of Monroe or Madison? Maybe.
I have no idea. I've been watching it. I've been keeping an open mind to it, and I like Dexter being the creeper and hitting them with these sneak attacks and putting them to sleep and everything. It's the same thing he's done since TNA 10 years ago, and so he stayed true to form, and um, they're building it up by saying there's some backstory, some reason why this is all happening, and that's going to be the big payoff. What is the reason? And if it's a good reason, okay, it makes sense. Awesome job. But if it ends up being something stupid, it's like, okay, that was a huge waste of time. And okay, get this stuff off my screen. So it's all going to depend on what this reason is, what the thing is. Um,
Do you think they
but
know
that's
yet? That's what it feels like. It feels like they're kind of writing this as we go.
right, because Johnny was going to blow the whistle on Monday, and now he goes, well, you don't say anything, I'm going to blow the whistle on next
Next
Monday.
month. So
So
you feel
if
like it has
the
to happen then.
goalpost keeps moving,
Yeah.
yeah, I think so. Whatever this thing is, we're finally get the big reveal, and either it'll all make sense or we're gonna boo it out the building. And
Yeah.
so, this is the long term storytelling we didn't get when Vince was in charge, and they're getting time to let this marinate, and now we get our big finish, hopefully on Monday, and
Yeah.
we can see what the maybe not what the punchline is, but what the big
It,
climax to this soap opera is. So we'll say that.
and I guess
So
we
I
did
hope
forget
it's good.
to mention Ciampa's out. I think they said 5-6 months due to hip surgery now. So that's why Ciampa got written off the way he has. So I'll be curious to see what they do with Ciampa when he gets back. I almost feel like it'll be like a dream sequence, Greg. The pairing with Miz never happened, and they might just reset it completely. Or you put him back with Gargano, and let them kind of run in the tag team. So,
That's what you do.
that's what I
Bring
think.
DIY back,
I think you
and
have Gargano getting beat down, and when Champ is
right.
ready, he comes back out to help, and let them have one final run together, and then see what they can do separately. Gargano did get beat by Baron Corbin later on in the night, which, yeah, they're still pushing. They're the old phrase, Greg. They're going to shove Baron Corbin down our throats with JBL, right?
Yeah, but it's needed to get us away from Happy Corbin and
Yeah.
that whole gimmick into a new gimmick. So
So do you think the
it's gonna
wrestling god thing's going to work for him?
no.
Okay.
Seeing JBL back on TV has been fun, and you miss his voice and his presence, but you know once he's
I
gone,
mean, Corbin's no spring chicken, so I feel like JBL is probably better served to help somebody younger, right? I mean, or start a
maybe that's the thing.
stable. What, like,
Exactly. That's
Bobby Roode? I mean, Bobby Roode's not doing anything. Maybe get some, stable going,
yeah, I'd be all for
like
that.
his cabinet back in the day, right?
Yep.
So,
And actually, I'm still. I should put it back out there to sign James Storm and reform Beer Money.
yeah.
One of the
Give
best
them
tag
one
teams
last run, I
outside
think
of
would be good.
exactly because we all remember who Beer Money is, and it would be amazing on WWE with WWE power behind it.
Yeah.
So I'm still low key pushing for it, but we saw James Storm at some NXT shows and stuff like that, and don't know why it didn't ever happen, because usually when they show up on NXT, they end up wrestling matches within a week or two after, and it never happened for him. So
I don't remember.
um,
Did he wrestle a couple? I think he wrestled a couple. I
I don't think
thought.
James Storm ever got the contract though, and I think that was the
No. Yeah.
Vince thing.
Yeah.
So obviously if he was at NXT, Triple H approved of it. So um, we may actually finally get to see that.
This is and Quicks brings up a good point. Could you call them beer money? Because we couldn't keep War Machine. I mean, obviously they would have a new name. I
Right.
I think you could do some pun, with you know drinking and cash or something like that. I think you could
Right.
make it
But
work
you still do
somehow.
all the stuff. You can drape the same. You can bring out the Boozer Cruiser that you used to roll
Yeah,
around
I
on, and
think you could work. I don't think they. And plus, who knows if beer money's a Impact Wrestling trademark, or if not, I doubt if it is now. But you would think the time has already passed on that. But that was really weird because a bell just went off after I said the time is up on that. So, how about some other matches? Austin Theory picked up a win. Greg, how about that?
hey, the reset is starting. He's trying to pivot into something else,
What do we
and
think about the growing out of the? It looks like he's growing out the beard too, a little bit. I think
yep.
He's going to change up the look, for whatever reason. But what about Ali and Seth Rollins? When do we think we get their final, or not final, their first matchup? I don't think it's going to have a crown jewel. It feels a little. I guess you could still schedule it, but I'm going to assume maybe the Monday after crown jewel. Do you think we get our final one-on-one match with them?
Lashley and Rollins, yeah, I think that's gonna be after a crown jewel.
No, Ali
Uh,
and Rollins.
oh, Ali.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, still, it's gonna be the reboot after crown jewel, because, like I said, once we get this glorified house show out of the way,
yeah.
then we can, start fresh and put Seth somewhere else, and that's where the Ali thing is going to pick up speed. So
Can Ali take the title off him? Do you think?
He
or
could.
just more of a. I almost wonder if this is just a test to see if Ali can, prove himself, and then maybe at WrestleMania, you know, he can win it there, in a multi-man match or something like that.
Right. I can see some shenanigans going down where somebody helps him win. Lashley comes down and
Maybe
helps him
Lashley
win,
could help him
and
win. Yeah,
yeah, or maybe it's I don't know about Riddle still being a
yeah,
possibility. I think they still want to keep that burning a little bit
hmm
with Riddle,
yeah,
so he could be the one that helps him out. But there could be some shenanigan Phil way that he ends up taking the title off of Seth, and Seth
hmm
getting into that high profile feud with a bigger guy. So um, Seth doesn't need a title to be relevant, as we all know. So
Oh yeah,
in this
but he
way,
needed it. He's earned it. He definitely needed something for all the work he's put in. So, how
true.
about Almost and Braun for Crown Jewel Battle of the Horses, Greg? We had almost defeat 4 people. Who cares? Um, I have no idea which direction they're going with it. Part of me thinks Braun, just to give, because I always thought they were higher on Braun anyway. So I feel like Braun might get the first matchup. I don't think Crown Jewel's the end of their feud. Because right now I don't see any place for them. So I feel like they're going to feud through November, and maybe end it in December at some stipulation match on Raw or SmackDown. But I think Braun gets the win on Saturday at Crown Jewel.
Um, yeah, I think unlike everything else that's going to happen at Crown Jewel, this is going to be the start of the rivalry,
Yeah,
and um, I think it's going to end up being a like no contest.
yeah, that could be.
They
Yeah.
they both end up brawling until they get counted out or
Do we get
something like
the
that.
broken ring spot?
No, there's too many things behind it to go that way. Um, but you can have them fighting up the ramp or backstage, things like that,
Yeah.
and just get counted out. But this is just to get the taste of what that battle is going to be like with King Kong and Godzilla going at each other. Um, two giant dudes, almost literally a giant, and um, probably being the only person that Braun can stand in front of and have to look up at him and look way up at him.
Yeah.
I've stood next to Braun Strowman, and he is a gargantuan man. So that's impressive. Um, so this is the first salvo. We get a taste of what a rivalry is going to look like with those two, and we just have a no contest type of finish
Yeah.
just to wet our beaks, and
I can
then
see
they
that.
put the real matches together when they get back to the states.
Like I said, probably on Raw, or maybe Survivor Series type deal. Um, so. Elias defeated Chad Gable. We did almost see Elias start to take out Riddle in the back. Was it this week? He had the guitar in his hand, Greg, and like he kind of went like this, and then I think it was Chad Gable and Otis interrupted him before taking. So do you think we're going to get heel Elias sooner rather than later?
Yeah, I think Elias is better as a heel
Probably
than
him and
he ever
Riddle
is a
will be a
babyface.
feud.
Yeah, because you're going to need somewhere else to put um, Riddle, and people dug Elias even when he was a heel. So
Yeah,
he does it really well. It would be a fun rivalry. The promos just between those two would be great. So um, Riddle's a made man. He can get to back to the top in that
yeah,
title picture anytime he wants.
yeah.
Um,
Now it's time for
but this
Elias to
is
see what we can do with him,
right.
if we can do anything with him. But how about Bailey and Bianca Belair? They got a last woman standing match scheduled, Greg, for Crown Jewel. Bianca gets, and she's got the upper hand. Now Bailey beat her, so I'm going to assume Bianca gets the win at Crown Jewel. Even though we keep saying, "Don't worry, I'll get to your girl in just a second." But let's predict this match first, Greg, and then we'll talk about the crazy Nikki factor that darling Nikki factor that happened there at the end of Raw, which a lot of us didn't foresee coming. But what about Bianca Belair and Bayley in a last woman standing match? I guess I'm going to call for Bianca, even though I still am holding out hope that Bayley gets that title sooner rather than later.
Yeah, if it was anywhere but Saudi Arabia, I would be all in on Bayley winning.
Yeah.
Would it be in Saudi Arabia? That's the only thing that's holding me back from it. And with the caveat, like the last thing I was saying, it was like the ladder match. You don't have to get a pin on her; you just have to incapacitate her, find a way to hold her down until the 10 count and belt changes hands. She doesn't have to take a pin; she stays strong. Blah blah blah. But um, yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
But for just the sake of taking the opposite side, I'll say Bayley and Damage Control will find a way to interfere and keep Bianca down long enough for the belt to change hands. Even though I really don't think it will happen in Saudi Arabia. If it was happening in Vegas or any U.S. city, I would be all for it, or sure of it. But
I guess Bayley has kept getting the upper hand too on Raw, so you got to believe
right.
Bianca gets it. What about the Nikki factor though? So at first I was like, oh, Nikki's going to join Damage Control, and then she takes out Bayley, so it's her on her own, Greg. But looks like you're going to get crazy Nikki back, and be interested to see where she's positioned after all this. Does she go after Bianca? Maybe we cool the jets on Bayley if she loses again, and then we get Nikki and Bianca Belair at Survivor Series, maybe some of December for the time being.
Yes, this is finally what I've been talking about, what I've been hoping for a long time. That we get Sanity Nikki back, and that's pretty much what we're getting. Aside from the gear,
Yeah,
she is back to being crazy and out of control, and now let her be dangerous, let her be a threat again, as she was when she was in NXT as part of the Sanity group, and she was amazing as that unhinged character,
yeah,
and not trying to be Mary Sunshine and slap hands with all the girls in the crowd and who are her size and everything. This is what we want. We want insane Nikki. We want Nikki Cross, and that's what we're getting finally. I'm getting my Sanity Nikki back. I'm excited about it, and I think she's going to do some things. Hunter knows how great she was in NXT, and he created that character. It's time to bring it back, and it can do some real damage on the main roster. So I'm ready to see what she does next, and let the Nikki ASH and all the other weirdness that she did since she came up from NXT, let that wash away. We'll forget about it if this ends up being as good as we expect it to be. So I got my fingers crossed for it, because there's room for more female stars, female standouts, and she has the ability to do that. We saw it when she was with Sanity. It's Sanity Nikki, Insane Nikki, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to do with her.
All right, let's get into some NXT stuff. Kaden Carter and Katana Chance defeated Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark. I thought wasn't there a fake finish in here where I thought there was going to be new tag champs. They restart the match, and Kaden and Katana end up winning. I don't know who's next for them.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody. With Triple H bringing back all the his favorites, we'll say. I don't know what their contract situation is, but who wouldn't love to see the Iconics back? Throw them right
Well, the
in
one's
the mix.
pregnant, so we'll have to wait for her.
Okay, there we go. So
the one with Sean Spears, Cassie, I forget which one, but so might be a few months for her, but yeah, Tegan Knox though has been mentioned. we can maybe get her back in NXT and teaming up with somebody.
Right.
I don't think we can go the toxic attraction well again, can we?
No, they need to bring Toxic up to the main roster full time.
Yeah.
Have Nikki drop the belt to whoever, or not Nikki, but Mandy drop the belt to whoever is next woman up, and bring them up as a 3-piece onto the main roster, and have them be a threat that rivals Damage Control.
Yeah.
So you need that strength of schedule on for when Nikki and not Nikki, I got Nikki Cross still on my brain.
Mandy.
When Sasha and Naomi come back. Mm-hmm. So we want a list of challengers that's going to make you look forward to those matches, and that's how you do it. So bring up Toxic, have some strong, real teams on the ledger for when they come back, and not just Natalya and whoever. So I like what Triple H is doing with having these established teams, together, ready to go, and leaving them or doing what Vince wouldn't, and giving them a serious list of contenders, and so they can have some great matches.
Of all the names, Greg, to show up on NXT TV, where was R-Truth on your list? Because on mine, he was not even on the list. But he will get a showdown with Grayson Waller, and I feel like they're going to have him get beat. Like R-Truth is going to beat Grayson Waller next week.
Hey, I'm all for it. He was nowhere on my bingo card. So when his music hit, it was great, because when R-Truth's music hits, he's going to bring it.
Crazy.
It's going to be hilarious. Yeah. He came out doing the Miz segment with Gargano, and they got to the "You can't handle the truth" line, and it was beautiful. The truth, he can do no wrong by anybody, and he can still go, and he's still beat the Miz in their impromptu setup match. So, hey, Triple H is doing the right thing by having some of the veterans go down and strengthen NXT, because just having all these green characters down there, stumbling their way through matches is not it. So filtering in UK, filtering in main roster talent, that's made NXT better almost overnight. And the result is showing very prominently now. So kudos for keep doing it. It's not a demotion to show up on NXT. We all have love in our hearts for NXT and, the black and gold. And you can see the 2.0 is gone. The pastel colors are gone already. And NXT is going back to being the NXT that we all know and love. So all for it. Bring down R-Truth, bring down the main roster guys to do cameos, and as part of those, big theme matches or, theme events, and make it strong again.
Shotzi won, Indeed Shear. So that's Veer Mahan and Sangar back as a team, Greg. Pretty Deadly won. Let's just get to it, though. We had Schism unveil their newest member. I hope you don't mind that I just rushed through those, but let's just face it. This is a big reveal, because this was Ava Raine, Greg, The Rock's daughter. So now we officially have a 4th generation wrestler, in WWE, which is so crazy to think. Ava Raine revealed as Schism's 4th member. This is going to be interesting because, we don't know anything about her. We haven't seen her wrestle. We haven't really. I think she's maybe talked once, or maybe she's been on TV once or twice, or it was very short, if I remember right. But this is, this is because you got to think, you got the grizzled young veterans who can help on the wrestling side. You have Joe Gacy who can help on the mic side. So, I mean, this is probably the best spot for her, because she doesn't have to shine right away. it does feel a little bit like The Rock when he first came out. Like, I think people are going to boo it just because it's gonna. I don't know. Is it going to be too cheesy? But hey, this is almost in. It is it a throwing them in the fire, or is this a we're just going to slowly reel her along? Because Schism is a lot of people are already down on them, Greg. They've already written them off, so I guess it can't hurt her other than maybe ruining her if it doesn't go well. But then at the same time, have people written it off so much that it won't matter for her. But what do you think about Ava Rain being revealed as Schism's fourth member, and now getting a chance to see what she can do in NXT finally?
Hey, it's that time, and that's the thing is that we don't know anything. She said a few words when she took her mask off and presented herself. That's the first time we've heard her voice, I think.
Yeah,
Um, and now we're going to tune in to see her matches, see how her promos sound, see what her moveset is, and all the curious eyes are going to be on her, and that's going to put Schism back on the map as far as something we want to see when we tune into NXT. Um, it's going to become the Ava show. What's Ava
yeah,
doing? How she look? How she sound? And this is the trial by fire. Um, and it's not throwing all the attention on her because of the Joe Gacy factor, because she's going to kind of be a ancillary character or side piece
to him. And
until the storylines and the rivalries thing kind of shift more to her side because she's dealing with female talent. But you can bring her in slowly and um, get her reps in without being in giant profile matches because as far as we know, she's not ready for big high profile matches yet, but she can ease into it and home grow her following, way AEW has done with their homegrown talent.
yeah,
And in a year from now, she could be the biggest female on the whole roster. So I'm excited for her. I hope she can, take this ball and run with it and become the star because 2 years from now, 3 years from now, you know, Ava or whatever her main roster ring name is
yeah,
going to be against Charlotte would be huge. So, um, she's got the size, she's got a good look, um, and daughter of the Rock versus daughter of Ric Flair. Let's go, let's get that. I can definitely see that's going to happen.
hey,
But
if the
after a
bloodline
couple
needs
years,
members,
right? Exactly. So there's
she,
always
she,
that.
she is Samoan. So,
That's true.
throw
She
her and
is a
Naomi, but yeah,
she's a
uh,
true relative, unlike
she's
Naomi.
yeah, Naomi's by proxy or by marriage,
Right.
but still. Um, hey, I think no, Naomi's had Usi in her.
Yeah, she's she's very easy.
I'm sure she is. Indy Hartwell won over Sol Ruka. Is Indy kind of going to heel side, Greg?
Yeah, it looks like she is. And
Is she going to be stuck down there forever?
uh, well,
It
that's
feels
that's why
like
we're doing the gimmick changes to see if something will stick because
stick with her.
her peak of her babyface run was the index period,
Yeah,
and
which was always going to be the peak, honestly.
right, but she needs to switch it up to you know create separation from that. So how are you going to do that? She
But
got to go
now
heel and
Lopez shows up, Greg, who is a huge heel. This is going to be her time, right? Like, I almost wonder if maybe she could be the one to take off the title and then let her really have her own time. Because why don't you call her up with, Legato if you don't have plans for her to do something more down there?
sure. And they could see that her ring work wasn't ready for
Yeah,
the main roster, and so she needs some more seasoning. I think that could be a reason that she was left um, off of Legato. It doesn't mean she can't be added to it down the road. Maybe Zelina's tenure ends acrimoniously and
And they
she
put
gets
her in.
replaced, 6 months down the road. But
Yeah.
I think the reason they did it now because that Electra is not ready. We've seen a handful of her matches and they were okay at best.
Yeah.
So she definitely needs more time, and I think that's why Triple H didn't bring her up. So,
And then
you know,
JD McDonough ends up beating, or well, referee stoppage, Ilya Dragunov. Which, do you think this writes off Dragunov for a little bit? Maybe there's some, work visa issues, or kind of like I was thinking with um, Gallus. Like we haven't seen Gallus back on TV. Do you think that's the reason why Dragunov was written off the way he was?
I think so because he was really getting over with the crowd, and this match was a great match.
Yeah.
One of the best, main events we've had on NXT for a while,
Mhm.
and that's what we're saying about bringing over the guys from UK into the
Yeah.
mix. The overall quality just shoots up incrementally. And this match was a banger. It was a classic, and I love the finish. And Dragunov will be back at some point, but it's a good way to write him off TV for the short while, fix whatever's going on backstage,
Yeah.
and at the same time, JD McDonough looks more like a beast
Because
because
that's what
we
he is.
put him down, right? So you know, all for it, but let him figure out the stuff they need to do, off screen and get it right and reboot it when he comes back.
All right, and let's get into SmackDown. We had Ridge Holland and Butch defeat Sami Zayn and Solo. There's miscommunication by Sami and Jay, obviously. But, Greg, we got the best segment of the year, of the decade, of the millennium. I mean, this segment, I literally couldn't turn my TV. Like, I wasn't on my phone. I didn't, you couldn't stop looking away. And nothing will beat that hit, that shot of Roman when Jay goes, I don't care what the tribal chief says. I mean, and the crowd is just like, ooh, and stuff like. And then to break after that, when Sammy's like, he's not being Usi right now, and then Roman's like, no, no, Jay, you're gonna face this way, and like trying to keep him. Um, I've heard Solo say Sammy has not broken Solo yet, but that's probably going to come. And if he didn't break then he must be the best character ever. But I mean, this segment had everything. I mean, all the up and downs in a segment you could want, Greg. And like I keep saying, man, when Sami Zayn finally gets booted to the side, he's going to be such a bigger star because of this. I mean, it's probably getting Jay up on another level as well, um, by default as well. But that line where he just said, "I don't care what the tribal chief says," and then Roman's like, that dad that it's like you're telling your teacher, "I don't care what you say," and they give you that evil death stare. That, like, tell me you didn't just say that.
Mm-hmm.
So that segment that took home like it's gonna be hard to top that. And where did they go next? And I guess on the other side of thing, Greg, uh, Logan Paul is going to land his lucky punch on Roman, right? But he still loses on Saturday, so that's fine with me because I don't know why we're putting Logan Paul in there. Now, and speaking of Paul's, I guess a side note: were you betting on Jake Paul or Anderson Silva, Greg? Because I really couldn't feel which way you were going in our group chat on that. So we'll start there first, and then we'll get into this segment.
All right. Well, being the MMA homer that I am, was hugely on the side of Anderson Silva,
Uh,
and I got in calling for anybody who wanted to smoke. I would bet against anybody that Anderson Silva was going
it's
to
a
get
good thing
this
you
win.
didn't bet then, right?
Hey, I called it, and it's like anybody wanted anybody, and nobody took me up on it. And I was ready to bet, logo bet. I would have put money on it. I would have
Yeah.
done whatever. and nobody took me on it. It's a good thing because he lost by decision. Anderson Silva lost by decision to Jake Paul. And after watching some of the highlights and reading the clippings from the other pro fighters, pro boxers, yeah, it sounds a little sketchy, but it is what it is. Paul got the W, and you
Undefeated
know,
still?
yeah, he's still undefeated. It's like 6-0, and now he's calling out Canelo and Nate Diaz,
Yeah.
and somebody's going to derail that hype train real soon if he ends up getting one of those two. But yep, I called it and called anybody out who wanted it, and nobody took me up on it. So at this point, good thing they didn't, because I'd be eating some crow right now. But my guy lost. I don't believe it, but I knew something was up when on the Friday before the fight, Silver and Paul were doing some type of dance routine or something stupid before the fight. Like this is not how you get ready for your big pay per
Biggest
view
fight.
fight or whatever. So it is what it is, and Anderson
Is
Silva can
Jake
go
Paul
ahead
going
and
to
ride
call
off into
out
the.
Azbula?
Yep, that's
Have
probably
you?
the next thing.
So that
He,
guy's starting to. He's a little 19 or 20-year-old, right? Like they have not said if he has dwarfism, Greg, but come on, man. Like anyone can
right.
see him and understand he has dwarfism or whatever sort of small person ism that he has. But um,
Hey,
he's
let him
been fun to watch
recreate
on
the
his.
LC.
He's been fun to watch on his TikTok and Instagram though, and uh, yeah, he's a UFC social media influencer, I guess is what they're calling him, Greg.
Oh my God, I have
With
no
Con-
idea who
with
this kid is.
Khabib,
Guy, kid, whatever
Khabib,
he is.
with Khabib,
Habib.
right?
Uh-huh.
So, anyways, what about the Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, the Bloodline segment? What are your thoughts on that? And then we'll get into your thoughts on Logan Paul and Roman.
I would agree with you. This was, I won't call it the best segment of the year. This still goes behind the Honorary Ooze T-shirt segment in my book. I loved it. I loved them both to the moon and back. So it's a game of inches when it comes to which one I love better. But I still think the Honorary Ooze segment goes above it, and the reason is that it looked like it was going a whole different way
Yeah,
until Sammy popped everybody.
yeah,
Like I said, you had the build up and Roman in the ring and Jay and Sammy having their tete-a-tete there, and Jay gives the line, I don't care what the tribal Lou says or the tribal chief says, and Roman's facial is perfect. And
hmm
he just been listening to it, going back and forth until that line, and then he looks up, and then his face totally changes, and even the crowd, picked up on it, and they start chanting, "You effed up, you
oh yeah.
effed up," because they know that he is going to get
Daddy
it
was home.
now, right? And he starts to turn around, and this battle is heating up. The tension is so huge. And it's so sweet, and it's perfect. And then Sammy takes the mic and gives the Uzi line, and he breaks everybody, and it was awesome, and I loved it, and I hated it at the same time because I wanted that seriousness to continue and that heaviness to pop off. And I don't know if it was on purpose that that happened that way, or once Sammy popped everybody and everybody was laughing, couldn't stop themselves from laughing, that you know, they, being the true professionals that they are, just pivoted and took it in a different direction.
Yeah.
That's going to be my huge question about that. It's like, was this
I
supposed to
think it
end a
was.
whole
I think it
different
had to go
way?
that way because we're not breaking them up yet.
Uh-huh.
Until we get to that breaking point, then the
Right.
serious will be the whole way throughout.
Yeah, and it was just so great. It was perfect. It was beautiful, and I was like you. I was on the edge of my seat watching this, and um, got a huge pop out of watching Sammy break everybody except Solo.
Looked like Solo
Jay
didn't
turned
break.
nope. Jay turned away from the mic, and Roman was holding Jay and pointing his face at the hard cam so we could all see him laughing too.
Mhm.
And he just broke everybody. And Paul just took the reins and going, "Okay, we're going to commercial," because he knew that this segment was over. There's no way to salvage it, And God loves Sammy. He's so amazing. Um, and how amazing would it be at the end of this whole bloodline story? Sammy ends up as champion. That would be the greatest payoff ever. Well, do I think it's going to actually happen? No, but would
No.
it be the greatest thing ever? Absolutely. It would be so the greatest thing ever.
I mean, I'll still take KO and Sammy defeating the Usos at Wrestle, or I think
Sure.
that would be a fine. I know it's not. It's almost like a parting gift, but at the same time, I think Sammy and KO together as a tag team. I'd love to see them have that moment, like at
Yeah.
WrestleMania. So, I mean, I don't know who's taking the title off Roman. Honestly, Greg. I mean, Roman might pass Bruno at this rate. We might give him 1,000 days because you know there there's
I
nobody
think
on
it's
this.
working out now because what have we been saying about WrestleMania is that when Rock and Roman go at each other, there should not be a title on the line because it's going to give away who's going to win, right?
Yeah,
So with the newest addition to SmackDown, we know who we're talking about, right?
Bray. Yeah, I think Bray's going to take it off.
Exactly.
Uncle Howdy, is he going to take it
Who
off?
who better to come back and who's got the smoke? Who's got the
Cody.
street cred?
Does Cody
The
take it off?
Cody could be one of them too, but
I mean,
I
ultimately,
think
or could you do Seth? I mean, Seth's got that history with Roman.
yeah, he definitely be one too. But
So I
what do you
guess
bring
there
him over
are
from?
names. There are names, but you know,
Yeah, but th- somebody needs to take it
you
off
don't
of
want the
him
titles.
before
And see, I
WrestleMania.
can't figure out if I want the titles in the match or not with The Rock.
I don't
I
because
mean,
what's The Rock going to do? Is he going to stay for a year and defend it? No, he's going to have this one off and then he's going to go back to Hollywood. That's
yeah,
the point of the title should not be on the line, or Roman should not have the title because then it has to be a title match.
yeah. Well, that's the
Because
thing too. Like, even if he has the titles, like, is it cheapen it if you say, well, we're just fighting? You're having Rock defend the honor of the family, but I don't. Yeah, it'll be
right, so
interesting.
somebody needs to beat him before,
But it
even
needs to
if
be The
it's
Rock and Roman at Mania, right? I mean, there's
yeah,
no doubt.
absolutely, absolutely.
There's no
But we need to
doubt.
get the title out of his hands before that.
Yeah.
And now there's a good
Yes, there is a
handful of guys
small
to do it.
crop. Yeah, that could do it. Um, Logan Paul and Roman this Saturday. What are we thinking? Logan's going to land. Like I said, I think Logan lands at one shot just so
Yeah,
he can say he lands it.
right.
Um, and then
And
it's probably a couple
Roman will kick out, and it'll put him in
the guillotine. I
in
think
a
you got to
sleeper hold or
make
guillotine.
him
Yeah,
tap out right. I mean, I'd rather make him tap out than just pin him.
right.
So
Yeah, because nobody's in for Logan Paul winning. Nobody. So
Ronda apparently, but
I'm glad that this is the one match I'm glad is happening in Saudi Arabia, so we can be done with it and then move back to serious business. So there's no way that Logan Paul wins this belt. If it does, I'm gonna stop watching until he's
so,
until he doesn't have it anymore because that would be akin to David Arquette winning the WCW championship. So I don't want to see that nonsense again.
Emma's back. I think we saw this coming. She does date Madcap Moss, Greg, so it doesn't surprise me she's back. Pretty decent match with Ronda. But let's just get to the other end of Ronda. Her and Shayna finally on screen together, it looks like, which was long overdue. Because we need Shayna doing something, Greg. So I'm kind of fine with Shayna maybe being a henchman, and then Ronda kind of cleans up, whatever's left. So I've called for a long time the pairing of Shayna. I mean, it still kind of sucks. Well, I don't know. Has the ship sailed on the four horsewomen? That's probably long gone, right? Like, there's no interest in that.
No, they're too scattered to the winds right now.
Yeah,
Becky's out. Sasha's doing who knows what, doing the Hollywood thing, and um, Bailey just got back. And
yeah.
Charlotte is, maybe still on
Charlotte, I don't
her
know what with
honeymoon or
Charlotte
whatever.
too. I was
Who
wondering what
knows?
with Charlotte. I mean, I haven't heard much on that end.
Right.
Unless she's,
I'm sure
do
they're
you think
saving
she's
her
out?
for. No, I think they're just saving her for a big re-entrance.
Or is one if she's waiting for like whatever's going on with Andrade? You know,
Probably.
could they be the
Um,
Sammy and Ty couple to really, really just grind your gears on TV?
I hope not. But just Charlotte's character, she doesn't appear to be one who would go that route. So I hope that's the case.
Yeah,
Um, but I think maybe she ends up being one of Rhonda's, surprise
yeah,
um, call outs when she's doing her open challenge.
yeah.
She after she mows through an assortment of women for the next couple months, you know, January she does another call out and Charlotte comes out,
Mhm.
and we could restart that rivalry. So I just think they're saving Charlotte for a big moment.
Yeah.
Um, I did not expect Emma at all. I hadn't thought of her in a long time. I
Yeah.
loved Misa Emma when she was, doing the bad girl thing with Dana Brooke, and they had a great team and great chemistry together. And I love Misa and Emma, so
Mhm.
I was disappointed when she got cut. And she was doing great in Impact. Is I think her name was Tennille Dashwood, and
Yeah.
um, she looked good, and still working the gimmick, and it was
Looks like they'll let
fantastic.
her be more of herself though, instead of trying to attach anything to her. So
Yeah. So I totally didn't expect to see her come out, and the Emelina thing was a disaster, but I
oh
blame
yeah,
Vince for that. So I'm glad to see her back to, original Emma, and
just being a
they
good
wouldn't bring her
wrestler.
back just to be cannon fodder. So I'm excited to see what they do with her too.
Where on our bingo card was Nakamura teaming up with Hit Row, Greg? Because that was not on my bingo card. But they did defeat Legado de Fantasma. Um, yeah. Any thoughts on that? I don't really have any thoughts on it.
No, it was a fine, temporary solution, but we got to get Hit Row
A
a
lot of
third
people
member.
brought up Carmelo Hayes' name, and I think that would have. I don't know. I think that could have been a good one-off just to kind of get him on TV, and then maybe he goes away until he's they're officially bringing him up. But then at
Hmm.
the same time, why are you just bringing him for one-off? But Nakamura was not on my list of names, Greg, for Hit Row. But how about Karrion Kross defeating Madcap Moss? What do we think for Karrion Kross and Drew? Steel cage match. Does Drew still get, or does Karrion still get the win? Maybe they always say nobody can interfere, but let's face it, everybody somebody interferes. But
Yeah.
what is the end game trying to get Karrion Kross over on Drew?
Yeah, because you got to paint him as the next man up. I mean,
Yeah,
McIntyre's had his shot, and he's got his little pound of flesh with this whole car accident
yeah,
business that happened last week. They have promoted the NXT parking lot to the Raw parking lot now,
mhm.
and funny things are going down, backstage and in the parking lot at Raw now. So, um, but Drew gets his pound of flesh, and um, I don't know if you saw the picture of Sheamus
He
getting
got married.
married,
Did you
and
see Seth's hair? He
no, I
has
didn't.
he has the blonde locks back, right? So that should be interesting to see on Monday.
Another
What
change
it,
is coming,
yeah, what it looks like.
but
Sheamus had a nice little entourage of best men, though, didn't he? Miro, Drew, um, Cesaro. That's what I was thinking. And I'm
yeah.
thinking, I
So
think the other guy was his brother. Did Sheamus did he outshoot his coverage or outkick his coverage with that girl he's got?
Yes, he did. Because
Isabella, I think is her name. I saw that
right,
woman. I was like, wow,
she is
yeah.
a smoke show.
She's no Irish lass. I don't think she's from the
Right,
home country. Dark
absolutely not. But
skinned and black hair, Greg. I don't think you find many of those lasses over there in good old Ireland or Scotland. So, yeah,
exactly,
but there is a picture of Seth Rollins uh, with not the half and half, but it's pure streaky. So I'll be interested to see
uh,
what that looks like come Monday. Maybe you liven it up a little bit or something. But um, and Claudio had his wife there, Sarah D'Amato, who used to be the coach down there, and I didn't realize they had a baby. So that was interesting to see. Stickers on the face, though, Greg. We still have not seen Baby Rollins yet, face wise. So they must be waiting for WrestleMania or something. They're waiting until she's old enough to have her unveil at WrestleMania.
right.
She's the higher power. She's gonna have a little cloak on, Greg, and then one day we'll be like, it was me all along. So, and then finally, so we had Bray Wyatt, out there just himself, Greg, until Uncle Howdy shows up on the screen. And Uncle Howdy said he'll always be, Bray will come back to him. Now, the detectives out there, Greg, noticed that Uncle Howdy had a cross looking earring that's the same one that Bo Dallas wears a lot. So, this could be Bo Dallas's character change that should be something. I guess that's what I don't know. I didn't know what to say after that, Greg. But it sounded like Bray though. I thought, but then I
Hmm.
thought, man, that take a lot of work to like clean up the beard and like have So I'm thinking this is somebody completely different, and I'm thinking it's Bo Dallas. So it should be something when we finally see Uncle Howdy in the ring with Bray and kind of what that's all about.
Yeah, I agree. First of all, because I haven't been on in the last couple of weeks to um,
Talk about Bray.
love on Braid, but holy cow, these segments have been awesome. Um, the Miz check is in the mail. Um,
Mhm.
but these promos have been off the chain. Loved the presentation, loved the new music, and just give me more Bray promo. He doesn't even have to get in the ring anymore. Just give me the promos because they are all fire.
Yeah.
And
And
we're
adding
here
other
for it. We're
characters is just going to liven this up.
right. Like it keeps seeing talk of the Wyatt Six and who's going to be a stable, and they're all assuming there's going to be a stable, but um, this Uncle Howdy is the first um, person that
Character,
we've seen really introduced, unless you want to count the White Rabbit. And I
which
still
we
say
still
the
haven't
White
seen.
Rabbit is totally somebody that's not Bray Wyatt,
Yeah.
and we're going to see that revealed. I won't say sooner than later, but we'll see it.
Even though we haven't
Um,
seen any more codes or anything for that, if I
there
remember right.
was a barcode on this last episode.
Was there one? Okay.
There was one.
Okay. I couldn't remember
Somebody
if
had,
was there somebody walking backstage? Was that where
um, no, I think it was somewhere during that package. There was a flash of a barcode.
or there was when they were talking
When
about something, right?
right
I
when
think
Uncle Howdy was talking, and they were
yes.
flashing
Okay.
through all these different images. There was a
Okay.
barcode. I saw it,
Okay.
um, and so I have no doubt that there's going to be a cast of characters eventually. Um, and if Uncle Howdy is Bo Dallas, good. Give him a more menacing look and voice. Get rid of the high pitched, nasally nonsense that he was doing. You know, make him up and make him. They're brothers. They're look enough alike. So the whole
Yeah.
mask thing um, but it did sound like Bray's voice for sure. Um, so there's like so many different things they could do with this and make it is still stay fire. So Um, whatever it is, I'm here for it. And, you know, we're glued to SmackDown to see how this is going. My theory on this goes back to that last line. It's where, not this week, but last week, where he says, "I go where the circle takes me."
Yeah.
And maybe that's the name of the group, or everything coming full circle. Because remember, this all started with Roman Reigns.
Yeah. That could
And
be
that's why I was pointing at Roman being, or him being the one that takes the title off Roman, because when Roman came back during the
he was part
pandemic,
of the
and he beat the Fiend to take the title, and he told the Fiend that you were just, all you are is just a freak in a mask.
Yeah.
And so this could come full circle, and I don't know if it's with as the Fiend getting his revenge on Roman, or him as Bray Wyatt getting his revenge on Roman. But either way, you can consider that coming full circle.
Yeah,
And,
that could be.
you know, taking the title that he lost to Roman.
Okay.
So I think that could be a big clue is about going where the circle takes me, going back to Roman and getting his payback, or, you know, the whole Wyatt family, the new Wyatt family, getting their revenge on the bloodline and things like
I
that.
could see Eric Rowan back. I think
Mhm.
you know, him back in the fold would be something.
Sure.
I still think Grayson Waller. I would be very interested to see what he could do. You know, under Bray. You know, that'd be one of those taking a veteran talent and helping a younger talent. And then, like we said, adding a woman character, you know, could really be something. So,
Right. Or
we did
Joe Gacy
see,
as Husky Harris.
yeah, there. Ava Rain as Sister Abigail. No, we could just combine all of them. I did forget that we did have the little, well, not little. We had Sonya Deville and Liv Morgan again going at it backstage. Kayla Braxton with the like whatever that scream was. I think are we gonna get a no DQ match? I believe next week. I thought they announced
Yeah, Street Fight or something like that.
something like that. So
Yeah.
I know we're getting a trick or street fight between Otis and Riddle, Greg. So you know Otis will end up with a pumpkin on his head.
Sure.
That's take that to the bank. So yeah, but that was Raw. Or that was SmackDown. Ended with Howdy Doody on the stage, or Uncle Howdy. Sorry. Now I'm going to totally say Howdy Doody every time I talk about it. But this is very intriguing because like there's just you don't know which direction it's going to go. Like there's no feud out there yet, but just slow pieces putting together. So,
Yeah, he hasn't called out anybody. He's just been,
trying to figure out where he wants to go.
Right, and try to apologizing to the fans for being so unhinged. So, you know, even with just that, we're all, you know, on the edge of our seats every word. So, imagine when he finally decides he wants to talk about who he wants to target next, or something like that. It's going to be insane.
Especially if he had, you know, maybe if he doesn't do Sister Abigail anymore, come up with a submission or something like that. You know, maybe add to his arsenal. So, let's get a commercial break in here, and we'll get right into AEW. And like we said, that Elite promo that aired. Finally, maybe some end in sight, light at the tunnel for them to come back or not come back. the way that promo was aired. But we'll get right into that in here in just a second. in the AEW, so we had Claudio Castagnoli and we are Yuta defeat Jericho and Garcia. We did have Jericho saying he's going to call out, any champion, former champion Greg of Ring of Honor, as he tries to dishonor it the best he can. I talked about this last week, and I don't know if you probably missed it, unfortunately, but I think my end game is Adam Cole, Greg, getting the title off of Chris Jericho. I think Adam Cole needs something. You can give Adam Cole his ROH theme back. You can let Adam Cole run, with Ring of Honor for a little bit. But that's my end game for Jericho because, he keeps saying he's going to defeat all the champions. And let's face it, Adam Cole's going to need something when he can finally come back. I think we're moving away from the elite stuff. And, what else is there for him? So I think that's my end game. I was kind of surprised that Castagnoli and We Are Yuta got the win, though, over the Jericho Appreciation Society. Does that mean maybe Wheeler or Claudio will go after Jericho, possibly for the Ring of Honor title?
Later, but not sooner. Yeah. I like this theory of Adam Cole. I've missed Adam Cole and hope whatever's ailing him, heals sooner than later. So because we've missed him on the screen. But for me, it's always been the end game is why am I drawing a
Brian Danielson?
Like now? No, not Brian Danielson, but his stablemate, Danny Garcia.
Oh, okay.
Right, because he's held in the other Ring of Honor championship.
Yeah.
And so after he, Hooker crooks his way to wins over all the previous ROH guys, there's only one left. Mm-hmm. And he's standing right next to you. Yeah. And maybe this is when Daniel Garcia, takes up for himself and goes, okay, you need to beat me now. Because they haven't had a match, as far as I know, one-on-one, those two against each other. So maybe this could be Daniel Garcia's coming out party, right? He's had a banger of matches against Danielson, but going against Jericho and winning the title, there you go. He's, the top man now. And the guy to end Chris Jericho's reign of terror. And at the same time, this flips him over to babyface, and if he starts representing
him on his own with no alliances.
Exactly, and he can start representing Ring of Honor the correct way after Jericho's done everything to besmirch what Ring of Honor stands for. So that's where I think it ends. But I would have no complaints about Adam Cole doing it.
Swerve in our glory defeated FTR. What in the heck is it going to take FTR to get a tag team title shot at the AW titles, Greg? Like, they're number one in the rankings. They have all the other gold. Is there? I don't get it. I honestly, is it just holding them down so that moment's bigger when they, recapture them?
Well, because look who's got the belts now, the Acclaimed, and they're the hottest thing in AEW right now. And so to have them go up against FTR right now would be, shooting the golden calf. You want to get as much mileage out of the Acclaimed being champs as you possibly can. So that's kind of how I knew that there's no way that FTR was going to win this match, because otherwise FTR is pretty much a lock to win the match, unless you want to really put over Acclaimed as being that damn good to beat FTR heads up. And I don't think this is it yet. It's not the time yet. They're finally getting, that love, that homegrown love, and you're splitting the crowd when you put them in there with FTR. So you find ways to make the journey longer for FTR and have them get over against, villain tag teams and, having good matches against teams like Swerve in Our Glory, where, we'll watch it, but we don't really care about Swerve in Our Glory. But they can put on a 5-star match and escalate the profile of Acclaimed even more. So, and who knew the Scissor thing would take off so huge. I knew it was going to happen, but not to this level. But the roof blows off whenever his music hits. So you got to keep riding it until we start to get tired of it, and then you flex the titles onto somebody else. But right now it's too early to put FTR against Acclaim.
Yeah, and that's probably true. How about this Elite promo vignette that aired? Kind of recapping all that the Elite have done, but showing it almost like the Avengers Endgame, where they're almost snapped out of existence. I don't think that means they're writing them off, but I'm intrigued by what it does mean. How about yourself?
Yeah, it's to me it means that they're about to come back, because the whole time that this investigation's been going on, the whole thing with Punk has been going on, we haven't heard anybody mention their names. We haven't heard the announcers say anything. We haven't heard the talent say anything.
And obviously,
guys,
they couldn't, with what's going on, but
right. And now we get a whole vignette showing their faces again and doing a Thanos snap on them, then just dissipating into nothing. And that to me is them doing a reverse vignette showing that they are on the way back, because whatever this investigation is about to be over, and we're going to see the Young Bucks and Kenny back real soon. So that's what that means to me, because just showing their faces on the screen again, we're reminding you of them, and now I think they're coming. Right.
Danielson defeated Guevara, Sammy Guevara, via referee stoppage. How about Danielson, the long, greasy haired look, Greg? He still comes out from the heel side. I don't know if you've noticed that. I think that's always interesting. What do we think of Danielson and the BCC? Is he on the outs there, or is this just just going to show a more aggressive side?
Yeah, I mean, he's going through, a darkness of his own. He's, like they lost a couple matches before he beat Sammy, and there's been some beef with Yuta, and it's just him. It is telling that he's come out through the heel side, because maybe he's feeling more like a heel these days. And, there's not really much to really poke at it, because Monster comes out through the crowd, so who knows what side of the ledger he feels on. So I like it, and it's another layer to him. But
and
I can
showing
see
that he's going to bleed for, like, he's going to, maybe it's him showing he's going to be there for them. Jamie Hayter got a win over Rio. When are we getting Britt and Paige? Sorry, Saraya. Because it doesn't look like Full Gear. Because Full Gear's in a couple weeks.
Right. So it's probably going to be Winners coming, so they can get the required amount of time for
her to be ready.
Saraya to get ready, and get those promos happening and really beef it up, because they've only hinted at it right now and had a couple run-ins backstage and things like that. But this is where it really goes in hot and heavy, and give the people what they want, and build up for next 6-7 weeks until Winter is coming happens, and then you have your big match.
And Moxley did defeat Penta to retain his title. But the big story there was, so we had the earlier segment where MJF was like, saying he doesn't want any help. This is probably all rouge, right? And the fact that they, so you had the firm take him out, but I'm going to assume somebody from the firm is going to help him win the title to prove that this is all a sham. And, or does that kind of ruin all the promos that MJF has done?
No, I don't think it does. first of all, I hated that Penta and Moxley end up with that match because I know there's no way Penta's going to win, and you know what a big Penta mark I am.
Yeah.
Um, but at least they did have a great match, and Penta looked good, um, in that match. But
Yeah.
I was bummed, even though I knew Moxley was going to win, that Penta didn't get a more realistic shot at it. So hopefully down the road, but you know, in the meantime, you can go to Tubi and watch Lucha Underground and see Penta as the man. So Penta pay the man. Let's go. Or Tubi, you know what you need.
Hey, yes.
Pay us. But no, they did have a banger of a match. It was
Yeah.
so I can be thankful for that. As far as NJF goes, and um, you start to wonder if they're going to start, hinting at him becoming a face, which I can't imagine because he is remarkable as a heel, and um, I can imagine him cutting the promos that he does as a babyface, and I don't really want to see him do that. The people are as in love with him as they'll ever be right now, being as he is. So I hope it is just kind of a sham with them,
Well, the
putting
firm
on
helped
like,
them get that chip, right? So
right,
when it makes sense for them to, finish the storyline out where they help, Morrissey helps them out or somebody helps them out to win the title.
right. But that's what they said on the program is that, we're the reason you had that chip. We are the
Yeah.
reason that, A, B, and C, and they spelled all that out.
Yeah.
And so, and they were using that as the reason to turn on it.
Yeah.
Because he felt too big for his britches and he didn't need them anymore. And
Yeah.
so we'll show you. So they kind of, told the story and then proceeded to lay him out and started to paint MJF as a sympathetic character. And that's not what I want. He needs to be like the baddest heel on the planet, which he is right now. So him taking some lumps and having to, deal with the firm too. Um, yeah, but that doesn't make him a baby face yet, but
Yeah.
it
Oh,
puts two heel elements against each other. And I hope that's where they go in because, um, maybe MJF as a baby face would be just as much gold as him as a heel, but I can't see how that would be. So um, at the end of it, I think I agree with you that somehow the firm gets involved, helps them beat Moxley, and then he comes out the next night with all of the firm and just laughing. We got you, Marks, and blah blah blah, and you know,
or
and
he could still just say he did it himself anyway.
right,
And even deny that they helped him. So, by the
right, and
way,
that's what we would do with all of them standing right behind him. Yeah.
so he will be at the Squared Circle Expo, Greg, which is the big wrestling convention in town here in Indianapolis next year. So it will be very
Ah.
interesting. And they've already given us the caveat that they do not take any responsibility for things, destroyed by him or, things said. So I will be
Right.
very, that might be my first time. I won't be nervous, but I'll be tentative of how to approach, him. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so, but yeah, so far they've announced Kurt Angle, who I've never met, so that's obviously high on the list. Jamie Hayter is announced, Matt Cardona, and now MJF was the second announcement, sorry. So yeah, MJF was like the second person they announced. So that will be very interesting next year to kind of meet MJF in an element that, little tentative to see how to approach that.
Right. There'll be a sign out there, caution, MJF will hurt your feelings.
Yes, there you go. Not responsible for her feelings. So.
Right.
How about we did have? I think we had the segment of the week for AW with Swerve and Billy Gunn, though, Greg. This heel Swerve, I didn't know what to expect, but him having Billy Gunn kidnapped and snapping his finger so he can't scissor anymore. I mean, that was Swerve as a heel is going to be something, right? I mean, him and
Yeah.
Darby almost need to go together. I think Darby as a heel and Swerve as a heel, that could be something kind of cool to watch together, I think.
Hey, I'm here for heel as or Swerve as a heel because we got to see heel Swerve in NXT,
Yeah,
and he was great then. And I think in AEW is going to get to just turn it up
yeah,
that level even
yeah,
more.
yeah.
And that segment was great. Um,
Yeah.
Loved it, and especially how he was able to do it without his partner even knowing about it. And so the end of Swerve in Our Glory is imminent, I'm sure.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but heel Swerve, absolutely. Let's give me more of that.
We had Moxley beat Magic Matt, whatever. uh, like I said, man, Rampage has turned into the Black Combo Combat Club show, hasn't it? I feel like they're either featured in the opening match or the main event of every Rampage. But
Hmm.
Ty picked up a win over Madison Rain. And then what about Wardlow? Picked up a win, Greg, but you had Powerhouse Hobbs show up, you had Brian Cage show up, you had the Embassy show up, you had FTR show up, but essentially it ended with Hobbs holding the TNT title, and you had Brian Cage with the TV title of Ring of Honor. Do either of those guys win either title?
Um, I say yes. Um,
Maybe Cage. I have
let's see.
Cage with the slight edge over Hobbs. Even though Wardlow has, let's face it, lost all, he's pretty much lost
Yeah.
all of his momentum. So maybe a title change is what he needs. Um, and Samoa Joe, even, I mean, both those guys really haven't had anything with their titles, Greg. So maybe them
Right.
losing their titles and just going on a tear in the tag team division is something to get them, you know, back together. Maybe they could do the double power bomb that Authors of Pain used to do, as a
Oh, yeah,
finishing
that
move.
would be great.
I think
Yeah.
them doing something together would, but uh, I think, and it does, but even think about Hobbs. Remember how we were um, giving all the credit to Team Taz, but Hobbs and Ricky Starks, where's he been? And Hook picks up wins, but here I thought they were all on another level because of that, but now they've they've kind of all sunk back down. It feels like.
Yeah, I agree. I think I can see Wardlow losing before Joe.
Okay.
Um, just because I think Wardlow's still, new, homegrown. He's still getting his his stripes, earning his stripes. Um, I see a greater effort needed to beat Joe, but I can see him definitely being added to the tag team division and going up against teams like the Bucks and the Lucha Brothers and having some epic matches. So that would not suck at all. And being in there with teams like that would um, raise both their levels, even Joe's. So
Yeah.
um, I'd be here for it. And um, being the huge Samoa Joe guy I am, I hate to see him lose. I hate to see him lose anytime. But um, if it propels them into the tag team ranks and they can go kill it with those guys, the FTRs and the Bucks and the Lucha Bros, things like that. Sign me up. I watch that every night of the week. So
Yeah.
um, in the end, it wouldn't suck. But if I had to put my money on it, I would bet that the TNT title ends up switching hands first.
Of course, Wardlow and Joe should kill the tag team division if with the power and poise that they have. But um, right now, the acclaimed are the tag team division. Was there anything else on Rampage? So I think next week we're getting Darby Allin and Jay Lethal, right?
Yeah.
With Jay Lethal saying he knows what Darby's darkness is or whatever. He knows something about Darby that we don't know. So we'll see if that comes out. Who was, I forget what else was, Jericho's calling out somebody. Um, was
Yeah.
it
Any AEW champion.
any Ring of Honor champion?
Ring of
Yeah,
Honor champion.
yeah.
Um,
I'm trying to think, was
I
there
think,
anything else announced for next week? Oh, well, Swerve in Our Glory and and the Acclaim have a rematch, right? I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the trilogy.
we'll probably see the end up swerving our glory there. But yeah, so we should see kind of things heading towards full gear, and yeah. So last call. So I will just bring it up real quick. My Colts lost on a last 45-second touchdown throw by Tyler Hankey of the Commanders to I think it was Terry
McLaurin.
McLaurin,
Yeah.
sorry. Because that was the big matchup, Stephon Gilmore and him, and looks like he got the last call. So 17-16. What a season for the Colts this year, Greg.
Hey, I put stock on Sam Ellinger because on my one of my fantasy teams had Tom Brady as a starter, and he's been stinking up the joint. So like, screw this guy. I'm done with him.
So you picked up
And
Sam?
I picked up Sam Ellinger. Just he had a juicy matchup, and I figured he could come out and throw 3 touchdowns and be like the new man for a week or whatever. And
Unfortunately, he threw
apparently,
none. I think he threw none right for you. So there you go.
so Brady got me more points anyway. Great.
Probably yes. Let me. I was trying to because I think we got a. What did we get a touchdown on? I mean, and well, you like Colts. They've only put up 20 or more points in like one game, I think. Yeah. So Ellinger was 17 of 23, 201 yards, no TDs, no interceptions, 8 yards a pass, but Naeem Hines had a touchdown, and I think that was our only touchdown. Somehow and then a bunch of field goals. So,
All right, so I'm going to need a new quarterback for that team because
yeah,
really Ellinger's not it either. But yeah,
Frank Wright's got to go though, right? On my Colts.
hey, we kicked him off the Chargers, so he's your problem now. But apparently, he's not doing any better over there either.
No, it's yeah. Anyway, so any other last call? Oh no, sorry. I hate when ESPN pre-plays ads, and that about scared me half to death. So that was cool.
Nice.
Any other last call for the good of the matter? Did your Chargers play this week or not?
No, it's our bye week this week. So
Okay. I think I had Keenan Allen. That's why he was. Yeah. Or is he
I
out?
hope we put him on the bench.
He's out.
No,
right?
he's been injured since week 1. So
Yeah.
but he tried to run last week and played a few plays and then went back to the bench. So hopefully next week he'll be ready to go.
The Chiefs are pretty much running away with that division, right?
Right now they only have a 1-game lead, so it's still
Chargers
possible to catch them. Yeah, the Chargers are right behind them. Chiefs are 5-2, Chargers 4-3, and they're both on bye this week. So they come out.
Got the Bills still leading. They're in the lead of the conference. It looks like Bills, Titans, Chiefs, Ravens, Jets. What about the Jets? Are they for real?
Not anymore.
Did they lose?
Brees Hall is gone. I think one of their other offensive linemen, big offensive lineman, is gone. So they may be falling back to the pack, and they lost to the Patriots. Yeah, they had a good early run, and they may end up leveling off from here.
That AFC East, though, that's pretty. You got 3 teams right now in the playoffs, possibly, or right there. But then you got the Eagles, the Vikings. Oh, the Eagles are undefeated still. I didn't realize that. They beat the Raiders.
I thought they were going to lose last week, and they proved me wrong.
They beat the Steelers, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe the Eagles, Jalen Hurts leading the charge here, right? Vikings?
Yeah, he is.
I didn't think we saw the Vikings being 6-1, did we?
No, absolutely not. So all the things we had no clue were going to be this good or this good as far as the
Giants.
Vikings and the Bill
Giants
and
lost today, but they're still 6-2 with 6-2. I mean,
right.
so,
I did predict the Seahawks beating the Giants this week. So
in the first 3-game losing streak of Tom Brady's career, I believe,
yep.
happened.
During
He had a couple losses this week, unfortunately.
exactly, announcing his divorce and
So I was
can't say I'm
saying,
so
Giselle's got a downgrade now, right, Greg? So
exactly. We're in the mix
I'm
now.
in the mix. I was talking to the kids at robotics yesterday. I was like, Giselle could go for a 6 like me, and some kid decided to humiliate me better, Greg. He goes, "No, you're like a 4, Mr. Hatchby." So yeah,
Oh,
that just lifted the confidence even more
ouch.
of where I thought I was. But he was probably actually right. I'm probably more at a 4. So that is okay. She's batted 10s all along, Greg. So maybe she can go for a 4, and I can outkick my coverage there. But
And that's what we can all
slide in
hope
those
for.
DMs. So, uh, I mean, there was no doubt there was a lot going on with Brady. I mean, even looking at him, I mean, he looked like physically he's lost some weight and he's just not himself. So,
Yeah, he's definitely aged, and he should have stayed gone last year. And
I mean, it's like the presidency; it ages you almost 10 years. You look at presidents when they start their term, Greg, and when they end, and it's like they age 20 years. But Brady looks like he's aged 20 years just this season. So, yeah. Are we looking forward to Crown Jewel?
we're looking forward to Crown Jewel being over. And that's even with my guy Brock Lesnar, on the card. I think him and Lashley are going to kill it.
That almost feels
And
like a under the radar match, doesn't it? Huh.
it is.
Who
And
we calling for there? I guess we did forget about that one.
Brock, absolutely. The Team Brock. I'll always be Team Brock. I love Lashley too, and
Yeah, I
I wish I
can't.
could see it in the octagon. But um, these guys, I know they're going to kill it, and
Yeah,
have a
I wonder if
banger of
they
a
could do a
match.
fight pit match.
Ooh,
I
it
mean, we
might get
just
too
had
real.
that. Yeah, that's probably when we just had the fight pit match. So but that would have been a better. I think that would have been a better choice than Rollins and Riddle. But I
Yeah,
think I'm
they
going to
have
call.
wasted Lesnar and Rollins and
That's true.
Lashley, in my opinion, because they could have done so much more with it.
Then again, the Prince of Saudi Arabia would probably put in a call for Brock. I mean, you know, so,
At least Goldberg's not there, so
that's true.
there's, he seems to love
I,
Goldberg too, and we don't
I
have to
think we
suffer
still
through his.
got 4 years left on this Saudi Arabian deal.
Uh, can't end soon enough.
It cannot end soon enough. So, yeah, but it's still a kind of an icky feeling with that too. But
Yeah,
just because
I
of
know they're getting a boatload of money from the Prince or whatever, but
and
it's just a waste
he's
of
the
a
one that's
bride.
had it I think he had that journalist killed, the American journalist over there, or the um, Israeli journalist. So yeah, there's some under the rug stuff that hasn't come out yet, but I mean that's come out, but has been swept under the rug on WWE's side. So, and I get
Right.
it; they're trying to make Riyadh like this, entertainment capital. I mean that's where the Live Golf Tour is ran by the same prince in Saudi Arabia, or the Saudi government type deals. So, um, yeah, so they're trying, but there's still there's still a lot of strides to be made. So, I guess as long as WWE doesn't like have Kim Jong Un, you know, get some, we'll get a live event for North Korea, Greg. I guess I'll be okay, but that would feel I don't know. You know, WWE live from North Korea, that'd give me a little sick feeling in my stomach.
Right.
Or Russia, you know, Vladimir Putin presents Moscow takeover. But, so, anyway, so enjoy tomorrow night. I have to go to work at my other job, but I'm gonna dress up anyway. I got a little cape and crown to be a Freddie Mercury type deal. I don't have the mustache,
Ah,
but I was gonna shave my mustache or shave everything, but yes, I did. I gotta look good for the wedding, I guess. So, any? Do you hand out candy, Greg, or do you have any Halloween traditions that you do tomorrow night, or do you take your boy out, or is he's older now, right?
yeah,
Your son.
but I think Marvin's just staying in and put on some scary movies and eat candy and
Yeah.
you know order some takeout, things like that. Just
Yeah.
no big Halloween um, customs yet. So
Yeah. All right. Well, enjoy it, and like I said, we'll be back next Sunday. Um, we kind of gave you predictions throughout the show of Crown Jewel. Then we'll have Full Gear the next weekend, the 12th, I believe. And then yeah, we're Survivor Series. That should be interesting, just with the War Games factor this year. So November's a busy month for us here. And then we'll have NXT Deadline, December 10th, I believe it is, or the 3rd or 10th. It's one of those dates. So then I think we have some layoff until the WrestleMania season. Who would have thought? I think year-end stuff, though, Greg. We got a lot of names that we could throw out for Wrestler of the Year, Improvement of the Year, and Promo of the Year, and all that fun stuff. So
yeah,
our award show should be a fun one when we kind of get to that. So, and predictions. Um, sounds like you've already got a prediction about CM Punk, so we could kind of throw that out there for next year's predictions. So, I guess we should bring up our last year's one and see if any of those have come true. I
yeah,
thought I called Austin Theory winning a title, which he did, right?
yeah. I believe so. Yeah,
The U.S. title. No,
yeah. Because without who have a bigger
him or Hook.
23 with
Yeah,
Hook and Theory.
it's like I guess that's still out. I don't know. I still think it's Theory, but Hook was having
Yeah,
a pretty good swelling, but he's kind of fallen off, right?
yeah. They've pivoted away from him a little bit, but
Yeah. So, at least he got the FTW championship. It's always good to get an unofficial title, right? So,
right.
all right. Well, let's get off here and get back to it next Sunday night at 6 p.m. and talk to you guys next week.